variables are kind of important in Python. Without them, your code would just be a rigid and repetitive mess. Think of variables like containers. These contain whatever you put into them. Now, wherever you use this container, whatever the value is in it will be used. Like in this example, the sum would have the value 3 plus 2, that's 5. And if I change the value of this container to something like 5, the value in sum will now be 8. Just like you had in math, if you had a variable that's x with the value of 5, when you perform x plus 3, the value in y will be 5 plus 3, that's 8. Pretty easy, right? Well, in programming, variables work the same way. They store values that we can use and change whenever we need. Now say you want to print square of a number. Let's say a number is 5, and to print the square of it, you'll just write print square is 5 times 5. Easy, right? And it works like we intended it to. But let's say now you want to change the number. Now you want the square of 6. Now you'll manually have to change the number here, here, and here. Well, that's not good. What if we add one more line? Let's say cube will be 6 times 6 times 6. Running this, we get our answer. But again, if I want to change the number again, I'll have to do it so many times. And when you are writing big applications, this is not what you want to do. Here's where variables come in. How do you create a variable? Just give it a name, write an equal sign, and assign a value to it. Now, everywhere you want to use the number 7, instead of writing 7 itself, you say num. Now there's a better way to do squares and cubes. I'll cover that in a separate video. But running this, we get the same result. And now if I want to change the number, I just do it one time. And there you go. It's that simple. Now let's say instead of printing the square directly, I wanted to store it. That's also super easy. I'll just say squared number will be the square of num. And now if I print squared number, I get what I want. But now you say, can I just store numbers in it? Well, no, like integers, that's whole numbers. And you can also store strings that are like words or sentences. You can also store decimal points and even Boolean values like true and false. You can also store stuff like lists, tuples, maps, objects. We'll cover those in a different video. And now if I go ahead and print all of this, that's how easy it is to use variables. But like everything in the world, there are rules for naming variables too. The name of a variable must always start with a letter or an underscore. Like age or underscore age are valid. But if I started with anything else, like a number or some special character, that won't work. That won't work because you see, we get an error here. The names of variables can only contain letters from small a to capital Z, 0 to 9, and an underscore. The names of variables are case sensitive, meaning capital and small letters affect and they are not the same. For example, age here and age with a capital A are two different variables. And also you cannot use any Python keyword to name a variable. Like you can't name a variable print because print is a Python keyword. And now when you run the program, you get an error because you've just overwritten the print function with a variable named print. So Python is a dynamically typed language, meaning in Python, you don't need to declare a variable's type. The interpreter figures it out for you. Let me show you an example. In languages like Java, which are statically typed, you have to manually give type to a variable. Like here, the num is int type, and it will only store integers in it. And if it tries to store anything else in it, it won't work. But in Python, which is a dynamically typed language, the interpreter gives you the type of the variable automatically. Like here, you can see num has a type of int, and we did not do anything to give it that. The interpreter figured it out from the value we gave it. But this also has its cons. It might be easy, but it can lead to some weird errors, especially for beginners. So there is something called type hinting in Python, where you can hint the type of a variable. So it's easy for you and your IDE can tell you if there's a possible error. So by giving a colon and writing int in front of it, we can suggest to ourselves that num will always be an integer. And if I try to assign it a string now, you can see my IDE is telling me that it's not assignable to a type of int. Well, this is just suggestions because Python does not really care. So if I go ahead and print it out, you can see I got hello because this is only a visual inference for us and the interpreter does not follow this. This is just a good practice to give type hintings because you know what the variable is and you can find out if there are weird bugs in your program. Another good practice is to use meaningful variable names. Let me show you an example. Suppose I want to calculate the total price of items I'm buying from price of a single item and how many items am I buying. So the quantity. Let's say I say the price A is 100 and the quantity B is 5. And my total price C would be A times B. If I print out C, I get 500, which is intended. But looking at the program, if you showed this to a friend, your friend won't understand what it's about. And then to save it, you'll write comments like, this is the price, this is the quantity, and this is the total price, which is kind of stupid. Instead of doing all this, you can just name the variables properly, like price is 100, quantity is 5, and total price is price multiplied by quantity. And if I print the total price, I get 500. And even if you show this code to your mom, she'll understand what it is trying to do. Good variable names make your code self-explanatory, reducing the need of extra comments. That's it for variables. Stay tuned for the next video where we dive deeper into Python data types. Thank you.